how organizations are either waived or not waived be brought to the board, and that is not here. So we should do that for our next meeting. We asked for a progress report, and it's not here. So let's be sure that we get that in the next.
Organizations are waived. Our fees are waived.
And there's a statement, it would be useful to provide the board with a copy of the procedures that you use so that we know what you are following. And when people ask us questions, we know how to respond to, oh, this is how something gets waived or doesn't get waived. And so that is not here. Is there an approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Okay.
think there's some of those things, in the initial part of that, Mark, and the back part of minutes report.
But it's not in the Learning Center agenda, which needs to be here.
Yeah, it's in the report that she's going to give right now. It's at the end of on pages D10 and D11 and D12. Now, that's not a full policy.
If we can, it'd make your life easy.
Okay.
I'll load it up quick.
Whether you can be waived or not, but it,
Which is what my memory is, that's what the board asked.
yeah. Now, and Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Learning Center comes under the same policy as the college.
Correct.
So we have a policy.
The new policy, 10-1.
New policy on how you get free space or how you.
Well, that was the request from the board, so we need to honor it in the Learning Center.
Right,
No, I
the
get it.
criteria is actually under procedures, and I don't have the procedures for that, so I still don't have, we don't know what that is.
We don't need to approve the procedures, we just need to be informed about what they are.
No, and I remember that request because I made it. I asked that we get a little bit of clarification on
All right,
what goes where.
tab C, we have nothing removed from the consent agenda because we only have the minutes and they've been approved. So information items, Mr. Garrity.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here and to present to you this Higher Education Center update. I will just qualify it with this is week 2 for me officially. And so Rebecca had originally put this presentation together. I'm still getting my sea legs. And so as I get a better handle on all of the things that I'm doing now that are different, in my next presentation, I'll have a lot more information for you. But thank you for your patience with me today. I appreciate it.
Madam Chair, may I just add that this presentation, as Megan mentioned, was going to be provided by Rebecca Estrada in October.
In October.
Put together, but we were not able to, we ran out of time. And so we had to delay it. So Megan has picked it up and she and I reviewed it, and so she is going to do a presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so our first book update is about Bellevue. They came and they visited with us back in September, and they also participated in our October SFCC and Higher Education Center College Night. The issue with Bellevue right now in terms of them really kind of getting off the ground is filling their relationship manager position. The position still remains open, and they're having challenges finding the right fit for it. Here.
Can you just review for us who Bellevue is?
Sure. So Bellevue is a nonprofit college. They're out of Nebraska. They do have a campus that has about 3,000 to 5,000 students, but then they also have lots of partnerships across the country that provide a pipeline for students who are completing a 2-year degree. Bellevue works with a lot of colleges to really streamline a 4-year degree completion. And so they're pretty generous in what they accept in their transcripts. And that enables them to really partner with their community college partners and find ways to maximize the number of credit hours that a student can take, for example, here at SFCC. So hopefully what we can achieve with them is that a student could do up to 3 years of their bachelor degree through SFCC and then move on to Bellevue and just have 1 year to finish up and get their degree. So that's pretty exciting. Initially, their offerings with us are online offerings. And so right now, students can enroll with Bellevue and complete their degrees online. But as we grow that partnership, I'm personally interested in hoping that Bellevue would come and do some campus-based classwork.
And are they nonprofit? or
They are a
corporate?
nonprofit. They are a nonprofit. So
And
that
they-
is,
And they do have all the accreditation requirements.
they do. So I spoke with Bellevue today, and I believe that they've met all of their accreditation requirements, but this relationship manager is really kind of the sticking point at this point. So that's really their mission at the moment. This is not very easy to read screenshot of the position. But really what they told me, the biggest challenge is that the individuals that they have interviewed so far have a salary expectation that's higher than this position. And that's where they're finding their struggle.
Okay.
Some of their
Where are they
programs,
based? Can you remind me?
Nebraska.
Okay, thank you.
sure.
Where in
Omaha, I want to say, but I'm not absolutely positive. I'll have to double check.
Cost of living may be higher here than it is there.
And when I talked to them today, I explained that, that's one of the challenges of Santa Fe is that it's a pretty wealthy community, but a lot of the wealth isn't native to the city. And so it's a struggle to find, place for affordable housing. And I talked to them about, our cost of living index is about 117, where, 100 is baseline. So
Yeah.
that I think helped them sort of understand some of the challenges, and we'll see if that
It's
informs
located
their
in Nebraska, right outside of Omaha.
Thank you.
It's located in Nebraska.
Right outside
Where?
Omaha.
Right outside of Omaha. Don't know where.
That's what is on their website.
Where I'm from.
Okay.
It's basically a
Suburban
hour
areas.
from where I'm from. I'm Yankton, but it's only an hour.
Oh.
So yes, I can answer what it's like. It's boring. It's the reason I left. And the food, let me tell you, really boring.
I know, I have a daughter who lives there.
I'm like, no. I knew in first grade I was on my way out. There has to be more.
But some of the programs that might be of interest to some of the students here at SFCC, the computer information systems, cybersecurity, information technology. Several of you attended the foundation luncheon, and you may remember Jesus Gallegos, who was one of the speakers, and he was wonderful. But he was one of the students I actually had the opportunity to talk to about Bellevue. So Jesus was clear. He is not interested in commuting anywhere. And what he told me was, I'm good. I've just decided I'm good with my associate's degree. And I said, that's great. If that's sufficient for you, fine. You're doing great. But did you know that we had this other option? So he wasn't aware that we had Bellevue. And so it was exciting to have that opportunity for me to sit down with Jesus and say,
Sure.
look, we have these other options. You can get financial aid. And so he's interested in media arts. And sure enough, Bellevue does have a media arts program that might work for him. So it does address a need for students who are bound to this community, who aren't interested in commuting. It's not necessarily easy for everybody to make that track. And so it's nice to have that opportunity.
When they have a manager, it might be useful if that person could come and talk about what these programs are. For
Absolutely.
example, what is healthcare, health communication?
Health communication.
Phone and I can't get out.
It could be an alignment. I'll dig into that a little bit deeper, but my feeling is that it's kind of an alignment with the community health worker, because that's sort of a certification that's becoming more widely used.
Some of them are self-evident, some of them,
Maybe they used to be called health education.
who knows?
Health communication is the study and practice of communicating promotional health information, such as in public health campaigns
So it
and
is-
health
it used-
education between the doctor and the
It
patient.
used to be called health
Yes,
education.
exactly.
Okay, sorry.
No, thank you. All right.
I think I have the recollection too, and maybe this is wrong, that they have a big veterans outreach program. Bellevue did.
I am not in touch with their veterans program, although when Rebecca left, that was one of the conversations that we kind of got to have as she was running out the doors, that there's an opportunity to create a veterans resource center at the higher education center. And I think that would be great. And when I spoke with Bellevue today, and what I appreciate about them is that they really are student focused, and they really are relationship focused. And so the spirit of collaboration is very wide open with them, and that they really are invested in finding the ways to help students succeed. They understand that not every student is going to be a good fit for them. And if Highlands is a better fit for those students, they don't have an issue connecting a student to Highlands, for example. And so I think that's really great and exactly the sort of partner that we need at the Higher Education Center. Okay, so you have some information. The information you currently have in your packet is the HEC 2018-2019 rental report working draft. When Rebecca put this together, she did not put in all of everything. So she left out the unpaid events. So our events with the New Mexico Higher Education Center and things like that were not represented in this report. I did today bring an updated report that I wanted to share, and I did ask Tina, my current assistant, to update it to kind of give us a little bit of a flavor for everything. Because although revenue is a certainly important aspect of, revenue is certainly important. I think it helps to see everything that we're doing with our partners. So there isn't a whole lot of difference between your current report that's in your board packet and the spreadsheet that I'm passing around now, but I kind of wanted to show it for contrast and just to show you the sorts of things that we've been doing up until the end of December. So we've actually been pretty busy. Last week, classes started for Highlands. Classes started for SFCC, of course, yesterday, and things are kind of off and running. It's been exciting and wonderful to get to know the partners. And honestly, I'm getting a handle on what the processes were. I think Rebecca had a lot of opportunities for bringing the HEC into being, and where I have an exciting opportunity is to help bring some process and procedure to capture all of the things that Rebecca, all the work that she's done. I don't think she had an opportunity really to create procedures so much because she was kind of inventing everything as it came across her desk. But all the work that she's done has given us a legacy that we can build on. And so the goal is to bring some standardization and procedures to the process. So the other part that you have in your packet is the rental report, and it's the small piece of paper with the pretty colors on it. This one, unfortunately, I was not able to get updated in time for today's meeting, the room utilization report. So this one does reflect the room utilization that we submitted to the Higher Education Department in September. And so I guess one of my questions for you is, what is the information and what is the data that you want to get from the Higher Education Center? What are your goals for the Higher Education Center? Because that's one of the things that I'm struggling to understand in my role.
Do you have comments, suggestions?
Well, I suppose the big question is, how well is it being utilized? Mm-hmm. And in part, that question is not simply one of numbers. Right. It's also the kind of activities that are going on there. Yeah.
Okay.
And, you could certainly make judgments regarding some of those things yourself. You think, communities and schools is a very important activity, and, you could help us understand that mm-hmm. if we didn't already.
Correct.
Yeah.
Other things?
So I'm going to follow on to George, which I think is really important. Utilization, but really utilization by the community, mm-hmm. because I still think there are a lot of unknowns. There are a lot of people who don't know about what we do at the Higher Education Center. Mm-hmm. So how do we bring diverse populations in so they see what we're doing and not just walk in and say, oh, this is a great building and keep going, right. But understand that we're offering classes there, that we write all over it. Here's the chance to get your bachelor's degree and master's degree in Santa Fe. And we look at those groups that come in strategically in that way too, right? How do we attract and build partnerships with groups that can help us expand our student base. And our partners.
Sure, absolutely.
I think one of the questions or inputs that I'd be interested in is about 2 years ago, we had a board meeting over at the AGC. It was the last time we ever met over there. And the discussion revolved around the creation of a advisory committee.
Mhm.
And what should be the makeup of that advisory committee and how big should it be? And what should they do and how often should they meet and so forth and so on. So I guess 2 years later, I'd be interested in knowing what input the advisory committee has had and how it's getting along.
And it would be useful to know who's on that advisory committee.
That
I don't think we've had that information. Anything else? I don't know that there is any.
I know, so when I
2 years ago.
when I spoke with Rebecca, it had been impaneled, and then I don't believe they're currently meeting. And so that was an opportunity, you know, that was something she said, you know, you can talk about whether or not it's something that we need to get the band back together.
And I suppose related to that, certainly, would be the notion of some suggestions from you
Mhm.
regarding how or what could be done to make the higher education center more sensitive to community needs, more the outreach, what sort of outreach,
Mhm.
you know, might occur that we're not doing,
Mhm.
that you see, oh, here's a channel that we really haven't utilized. And it'd be great because you're in a position to know a lot of those things. We're not.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, there was one idea that I spoke with Dr. Cervantes about, and that I'm starting to move forward with. My former life was as a banker, and bankers have to do a lot of training, a lot of compliance training, and then there's also the opportunity for banking school. When I was a banker, the only place you could do banking school was in Las Vegas or in Las Cruces, and that's really challenging for the northern New Mexico bankers. And so I think we have an opportunity to potentially bring banking school to the higher education center, but if nothing else, some opportunities to do even just basic compliance trainings with the higher education center.
You could probably say the same thing about legal training. You know,
Absolutely.
all the folks, or accountants for that matter, all the folks who have to do chiropractors,
Right.
they all have to do so much training every year in order to keep their licenses, and most of them have to travel to get that done.
Exactly. So I think we
doing
have
that,
some
that's a great
opportunities there.
Counselors.
Another place we have opportunities in terms of addressing bringing diverse populations into the higher education center. So with my privilege of working in financial aid and working with scholarships, we have an MOU with the Northern Pueblos that provides scholarships for students. But one of the things that's written into that MOU is that we provide space. And we've never really leveraged that appropriately. I think the college could do more to support and promote and champion our Native American students. And so if we could find ways to, let them know that they have space available and that they're welcome to use it, and to work with them to figure out, how we can come together. I think we have some opportunities to build some bridges there.
And I noticed that you have a lot of unused space in your report, so that would be a good way to do that. But one of the concerns that I have is a higher education center is really about bringing bachelor's and master's degrees to this community.
Correct.
And I don't think we've done enough in that area.
Right.
And so I think that's an area and so it's really hard to promote
Right.
that the higher education center provides these opportunities for our communities.
Right.
And then we say, well, we only do 2 or 3 programs.
Right.
So I think that the area for growth for us has got to be finding more programs and more colleges that will, and if UNM is not, I think UNM backtracked for a while because they thought they were going to get the College of Art and Design, and now that didn't happen. So they may be more willing now.
Right.
But if they're not willing, I think there are other universities that we need to. There was some conversation a long time ago about working with Durango, with Fort Lewis.
Interesting.
There are neighboring opportunities, I think, that we need to really explore.
You know, Eastern has started to kind of be pretty aggressive in their outreach and their growth. And so there might be some potential for us there. I've heard some things about Western actually trying to promote some of their growth.
Right.
And so there might be some partnerships that we can encourage there. And
With the high
UNM,
demand with teachers, it would be great if we could look at some kind of a teacher training program. I know we do alternative licensure here, but even traditional students. I mean, there is such
absolutely.
need right now, a desperate shortage of teachers.
Doesn't Highland do that?
Highlands does have an education
And
program.
so does
Yeah.
Northern,
Yeah.
yeah, both of those schools.
Yeah. But we should have more. We should have
Absolutely.
another, maybe higher visibility institution.
Sure.
See if they get their
Yes.
raise.
I was gonna add that I did meet with the chancellor, Arvizu of New Mexico State about bringing them back, because they were there initially, and then they left, just after about a year and a half, when, the budget, fell out. And, so they're interested, and, Megan is gonna follow up with the contacts there about bringing them back. But interestingly enough, when, New Mexico State was at the HEC, we did not have any articulation agreements in place. And we really need to have that articulation agreements in order for students to get interested and continue their studies if we have a program here from New Mexico State. We also met recently, Margaret Peters and Tony Buck and I met with Dr. Tim Castillo with UNM, and he has been designated as the contact for UNM here in Santa Fe to try and develop programming, particularly at the Midtown campus. But I wanted you to know that we are a good partner at the HEC, and so we're working on that too, and following up. So I definitely agree that there's opportunities and a lot of possible institutions that we need to connect with. Some that are New Mexican,
Absolutely.
like UNM and NMSU, for instance, possibly Eastern, in order to offer more opportunities for students to continue with their degrees. And Megan is gung-ho in order to do that while she's at the HEC. Thank you.
It seems partly to me that UNM's having trouble kind of dreaming about what their Santa Fe identity might look like. And so, that's what I'd like to be able to help them do, is sort of connect them to a vision that can,
Well, I think
give them a little
it's
traction.
hard for those flagship institutions to understand the benefit of a higher education center.
Right.
And that has to be.
Because it feels like
real
competition.
sell. Yeah.
Right.
And if they can see other places that are successful and that, bring them a lot of students.
Right.
It comes right down to it.
That's
The
true.
other question that I had in addition to the advisory board or former advisory board is in our capital improvements program, what did we have, if anything, for improvements at the agency? Does anybody know?
I don't.
Capital improvements for,
Bond issue that we just spent gazillions of dollars.
I don't think there's
No.
anything.
Not
we need
right
to do.
now.
Okay, that is my concern. That there's a couple of things that are missing out in HEC. One, it was never designed for laboratories,
Mm.
no labs.
Healthcare. That's why we don't have a lot of programs.
Right.
So, and I don't know that we have enough space for that,
Right.
frankly, but that needs to be analyzed. Another thing is that it's, at least the last time we were there, it lacked communications, it lacked, these guys up here that take your picture and
Right.
record your meetings and that type of thing. So that's a much cheaper investment than putting in laboratories.
Right.
And that may enable us to have more online classes and more utilization. But with the budget season coming upon us now, so another thing to put on your
It's begun.
to-do list would be what should we be programming for at the HEC from a capital improvement standpoint, and what will that thing do?
Right.
Will that attract?
And I think Vignardo has to be involved in, we have to
Right.
bring that up to him. He's not here today, but that should be something that's on his radar. Definitely. Henry.
Mhm.
Who's Henry?
You know, the facilities person.
Oh, that Henry. Oh,
That-
yeah.
yeah, and, you know,
That
I mean, he's in charge of that facility as well, right?
Well, yeah, it's part of our
Well, maintenance,
plant
yeah.
maintenance and operations
Yeah,
and
yeah.
web facilities.
So-
Yeah.
We need to, I know we prioritize capital improvements and those priorities have been approved by the board.
Yeah.
But there's some flex in those priorities too.
You know, the other thing that, and maybe we're gonna get to it, we're gonna talk about AARP and the tax.
I don't have a specific AARP slide, but we can spend a few minutes now and talk about AARP. So for the first time ever, thanks to policy 1-10, we have a lease with AARP, and that's wonderful. And about a day after we got the lease signed, AARP asked to change it. And so they have come back to us and asked to add a couple of extra days. I looked at the classroom utilization and also worked with the partners. We have some concerns just because the Fitness Education Center has been the heart and soul of the AARP tax prep for so long. And there are people in the community who are used to that process. So they're used to being able to show up super early and they mill around and they wait maybe considerable amounts of time and get their taxes prepared. Unfortunately, at the Higher Education Center, we don't have the luxury of being able to let people kind of linger all day. We've got classes going on. There's a lot of things going on. So a few things that are different are AARP is providing appointments, and we're really promoting and trying to make the public-facing message be that appointments are going to be required for people to get their taxes done at the Higher
So
Education Center.
None of this space that's available that is unused could be mobilized for that?
They have 2 dedicated classrooms, so they're in room 205 and 207, and those rooms are dedicated to AARP for the duration of the time that they start doing the tax prep. So actually, individuals can start making reservations on their website now, and tax prep will begin on February 4th, and will run about the second week of April. So we're expecting a big influx of people kind of at the beginning. We expect them to be in mixed moods because they're going to show up at the Fitness Education Center, we expect. And then they're going to come and they're going to find out about our wonderful building. And then they're going to be helped to create appointments. AARP is going to take walk-in appointments as they can. But what I want to promote as the director of the building is that people need to get used to the new system of setting up appointments because none of us really have the time to kind of sit all day and wait for an appointment to happen. And so this is a much easier way, a much less stressful way. Instead of having to sit for 6 hours and hope that you get in, you have a reserved spot, a reserved space. If you don't have a computer, there's a phone number you can call, and there's a way to do it.
The first year, can we have someone at the fitness center makes those appointments rather than sending them over to?
That's an interesting idea. I could certainly speak with Jean Varela, who's the director of AARP, and see if they have the resources to have somebody at the fitness center. It's a great idea.
Well, they're making appointments somehow, so whether that person is there or here.
Yeah, but what she's saying is that the plan was that they show up here.
Yeah. No, I understand.
That might happen.
And then they have to drive over to the HEC and to make an appointment.
I understand, but
Right.
if the appointments were made here.
So they're only gonna do, AARP is only gonna do taxes at HEC.
At the Higher Education Center.
Well, that's fantastic. This morning in the gym, I was assaulted. I was assaulted for the 20th time. There's one individual there who is just irate. He thinks these people, whoever they are, who need this service are just taking up all the parking spaces. And 1 year,
Yes.
I told him, I'm gonna get you a personal parking space. And this morning, he came in, I'm working on the machines, and he came in, they're coming here again. I said, who was that?
He's wrong. They're not.
Oh, I'm gonna, boy, when I go in next week.
Most of these appointments are going to be in the morning and early afternoon, which is not when we offer the majority of our classes.
Exactly.
But we need to get them out about 3:34 because then get busy with classes after that, and there's not enough parking. So that's
So-
the plan.
So based on the stress on the facility and kind of feeling our way through this first year, since it's a kind of change for everybody, we're going to have them join us now Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then Saturdays from 9 to 1. So on Monday and Tuesday, they'll be there 8 to 3:30, or 8 to 4:30 rather. Wednesdays will be 8 to 3:30, and then Saturdays 9 to 1.
Just
So
as a clarification, I'm sorry, people can schedule their own appointments through the portal.
they can.
So they don't need to drive over there, schedule an appointment. They can do it from their own phone or computer.
But
as
for
well.
those people who show up at the fitness center,
And they don't know what a portal is.
right? And we've already been fielding lots and lots of phone calls, from people who are very sweet, and they say, "Oh, but I don't have a computer, so I'm just going to come." So there is a phone number for those folks who don't have computers. There's a phone number they can call and make a reservation that way.
ARP has, that's their network. So they have met ways to reach their people. Our 428-1000, our front desk fields a ton of tax questions, and they're ready to go. We're just working out some details, and the newspaper for this audience is particularly effective. And so and it's also two-pronged because we're doing it with AARP. So there's going to be a nice rollout of information in the hope that we can avoid, people like my grandma coming over and having to actually do that whole dance with us.
I want to take good care of your grandma.
Yes.
And are they also going to use the mall they were doing last year? They started.
That's not AARP.
That's not
Oh,
AARP,
that's someone else.
Yeah.
right?
The guy who
So
used to do it for AARP
Right.
left.
He
We
went solo.
spun off.
Yeah.
And
so
he's
we are the
charging-
only
he
AARP
charges
center
over there.
in Santa Fe.
So if the IRS is open for business, we might.
yes.
Yes.
Well, you can get your taxes done, you just can't get your refund.
Well, maybe. The format of that, I knew they didn't have a format yet. Okay, so anything else?
I think that about covers it for AARP, but they're a sweet partner. They're super grateful for the space. I was talking with Gene, and he said, some of our tax prep centers have to find a new space every week. And so they kind of just pack their bags and go begging to see where they can set up. And so they're extremely grateful for the use of space, for SFCC providing a dedicated space where they can just kind of leave their setup set up and they don't have to break it down and all of that stuff because it's a little complicated. And they're extremely grateful for the partnership. One of the other things that Jean did mention to me is that as a thank you, if we wanted to, we could probably arrange to do like a special SFCC employee day, because he said they were accustomed to having SFCC employees come and get their taxes done. But with the shift, that might not be easy because people can't just necessarily swing by the HEC. So I think that might be an opportunity worth exploring.
Employees and students. I think it would be
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah,
And Madam Chair, I wanted to thank IT and
Absolutely.
marketing and finance. It was a team effort, and Megan, Rebecca actually worked on it.
She did.
just
She
before
did it all.
left, because for the first time, we actually have a lease with AARP where we spell out all the duties and responsibilities of SFCC as well as of AARP.
but I really appreciate having that lease, especially having just minutes after those signatures were signed and they were like, well, we're going to do something different now.
And we're not.
And it was really nice to have the lease to say, well, here's the document that we just agreed
So
to.
they use the space just for a couple of months?
Well, so that's one of our partners that has a fee waiver. So we're not charging them for any of that space because it's so important. And I think it's a great opportunity to raise the profile of the higher education center, because people will know where we are after this, for sure.
Gene liked the idea of getting it closer to town.
Absolutely.
He really thought that more people would be able to get
Well, and to
there.
the point about buses, it's easier to get there.
Oh, yeah.
More bus transportation.
Okay, I'll talk a little quicker. So the next piece you have is the charges. And so you have a copy of our rental sheet. These fees have not changed since 2016. And so that would be something that we can certainly talk about as I get my feet underneath me, and we can talk about how that works going forward. And so one of the things that I am doing is working on procedural stuff. And so I'm with my assistant Tina, we're developing forms so that when we do a fee waiver, we'll have a formal piece of paper that we can add to our documentation that documents that. Anything else? Any other feedback, comments, or questions?
Are there comments from the board?
Rental rate, is this per day, per week, per month?
We go by half day. Oh, so on the rental rate sheet or on the,
Oh, I was looking, sorry. I was looking.
okay.
So this is where the rates come from.
Okay. See.
Anything else? Well, I want to thank Megan for picking up for us, and it's always nice to have new energy and
Thank you.
new ideas, and thank you so much.
I'm
We look
so
forward to
delighted
working
to be here and thank you so much for the opportunity today.